The stars burned red in the darkness of space. Captain Thorne gripped the metal rail of his command bridge as another explosion shook his ship. Through the thick glass windows, he could see his world dying below. Corax Prime had been beautiful, once, green oceans and silver cities that sparkled in the light of twin suns. Now black smoke covered everything. The Vex ships hung in the sky like giant metal spiders, dropping fire on anything that moved. "Sir, the defense platforms are gone," said his communications officer. Her scaled hands shook as she spoke. "All 12 stations have been destroyed." Thorne closed his eyes for a moment. 12 massive defense platforms. Each one had cost billions to build. Each one had been called impossible to destroy. The Vex had wiped them out in less than an hour. "How many ships do we have left?" he asked. 7, sir, maybe 6 now. I lost contact with the Starfire 2 minutes ago. 7 ships against the Vex fleet. Thorne almost laughed, but there was nothing funny about watching your home burn. The Vex had brought over 300 warships to his system. Dark metal giants, with red lights that looked like angry eyes. He had heard the stories. Every species in the galaxy had heard them. The Vex came without warning. They destroyed everything that fought back. They enslaved everything that surrendered. For 300 years, they had been moving across the galaxy like a disease. First, they had taken the outer rim worlds, small colonies that nobody cared about. Then they had destroyed the Nexari Collective. The crystal beings had been peaceful traders for thousands of years. The Vex had turned their homeworlds into glass. After that came the Metal Lords of Titan, 7, ancient machines that had built cities in the hearts of dead stars. The Vex had ripped apart their star forges and melted down their bodies for scrap metal, world after world, species after species. The pattern never changed. The Vex would arrive with their massive fleets. They would demand surrender. If you said yes, they made you their slaves. If you said no, they killed everyone. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Vex flagship," the communications officer said. "Put it through." The main screen flickered and showed a face that gave Thorne nightmares. Admiral Kane of the Vex Empire looked almost human, but wrong in every way. His skin was pale gray. His eyes were solid black. Metal tubes ran from his skull into his uniform. "Captain Thorne of the Corax Defense Fleet," Kane said. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "Your pathetic resistance is over. Order your remaining ships to surrender." "Never," Thorne said. Kane smiled, showing teeth made of black metal. "I expected that answer. Your species has always been stubborn. It will make breaking you more interesting." The screen went dark. Thorne knew what would come next. The Vex would finish destroying his fleet. Then they would land troops on Corax Prime. The killing would go on for days. "Sir, the Moonbeam is requesting orders," his tactical officer said. Thorne looked at the battle display. 6 red dots showed his remaining ships. Around them, hundreds of green dots marked the Vex fleet. It was like watching insects try to fight, a forest fire. "Tell all ships to target the Vex troop carriers," he ordered. "If we're going to die, let's make it count." His ship shook again as Vex weapons hit the hull. Warning lights flashed red all around the bridge. The air tasted like burning metal and fear. Thorne watched his ships move into their final attack. The Moonbeam and the Starguard flew straight at the Vex formation. Their weapons fired streams of blue energy that looked like falling stars. A few Vex fighters exploded, but more took their place. The Corax ships were brave. Their crews were good soldiers, but bravery meant nothing against the Vex war machine. One by one, Thorne's fleet died. The Moonbeam lasted 3 minutes. The Starguard managed 4 before a Vex missile tore it in half. "Sir, we're the last ship," the communications officer said. Her voice was very quiet. Thorne nodded. He had known this moment would come. Every military leader in the galaxy knew how their story would end when the Vex arrived. You fought as long as you could. Then you died. But maybe death didn't have to be completely pointless. "Open all communication channels," he ordered. "Every frequency we have. Military, civilian, everything." "Sir?" "Do it." The communications officer's claws clicked on her control panel. "All channels open, sir." Thorne took a deep breath. His words would travel across space faster than light. Maybe someone would hear them. Maybe someone would care. "This is Captain Thorne of the Corax Defense Fleet," he said. "Our world is dying. Our people are dead, or will be soon. The Vex Empire has destroyed everything we built in 10,000 years. Another explosion. Pieces of his ship's hull flew past the windows. "To anyone listening," Thorne continued, "the Vex cannot be stopped by normal means. They have weapons we cannot match, ships we cannot destroy. They have conquered 80% of the galaxy." His tactical officer looked up from her station. "Sir, they're targeting our engines." "To anyone who still fights," Thorne said, speaking faster now. "You need something new, something they haven't seen before. The old ways of war don't work against them." A massive impact threw everyone to the floor. The lights went out for a moment, then came back dim and flickering. "They fear nothing because nothing has ever hurt them," Thorne said. "But everything that exists can be destroyed. Find a way. Find—" The final missile hit the bridge directly. Captain Thorne's last transmission scattered across the galaxy in a burst of static and light. Far away, on the edge of known space, a small blue world received his message. The beings there had avoided contact with the greater galaxy. They seemed primitive and weak to the major powers, but they had been listening, and they had been preparing. Admiral Kane watched the last Corax ship explode from the bridge of his flagship, the Devastator. Another perfect victory. Another species added to the Empire's slave rolls. The few survivors on the planet below would serve the Vex for the rest of their short lives. "Admiral," his communications officer said, "we intercepted the final transmission from their captain." "What did he say?" "A call for help, sir. Broadcast on all frequencies toward the outer rim." Kane laughed. "Let him call. There's nothing out there but empty space and dead worlds. The Vex Empire is unstoppable." He turned to look at the tactical display showing Vex territory. Red zones marked their conquered space. It covered most of the galaxy now. Soon, it would cover all of it. "Set course for the next system," Kane ordered. "The war continues." But in the darkness between stars, something had already begun to move. The UTS Defiance dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of what used to be Nexari territory. Captain Riley felt the ship's systems connect to her mind as Oracle's voice whispered through her enhanced neural links. "Arrival confirmed, Captain. We are in the Kepler 442 system. Long-range sensors detect debris fields and no life signs." Riley opened her eyes and looked at the main screen. Space around them was filled with the broken remains of crystal cities. The Nexari had built their homes on asteroids, growing beautiful structures that looked like frozen music. Now those structures were shattered glass floating in the dark. "How long ago?" she asked. "Based on radiation decay, approximately 6 months, Oracle replied. The attack was thorough. No survivors detected. Riley's enhanced mind processed the information quickly. 6 months meant the Vex had moved on to other targets. This system would be lightly defended, if at all. "Tactical, what do we have?" she called to her crew. Lieutenant Torres, her tactical officer, was also enhanced. His eyes glowed slightly blue as he linked to the ship's sensor array. 3 Vex patrol ships orbiting the 4th planet. Standard cruiser class. They're scanning the ruins for salvageable materials. "Perfect," Riley said. "Time to introduce ourselves." The Defiance moved deeper into the system. It was a beautiful ship in its own way, but not like the elegant vessels other species built. Human engineering focused on function over form. Every line of the ship was designed for war. "Captain," said Communications Officer Park, "we're receiving a transmission from the Vex patrol leader." "Let's hear it." The alien voice that came through the speakers sounded annoyed. "Unknown vessel, you are entering Vex territory without authorization. Identify yourself and state your business." Riley smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "Open a channel." "Channel open, Captain." "This is Captain Riley of the United Terran Defense Force," she said. "I'm here to deliver a message." There was a pause. Then the Vex commander spoke again, this time with amusement in his voice. "Terran? We have no record of your species in our databases. Are you refugees from one of our recent conquests? No, Riley said. We're something new. Whatever you are, you will surrender immediately. Resistance is futile. We are the Vex Empire. Riley looked at her crew. Enhanced humans at every station, their minds linked to the ship's systems. They had trained for this moment for years. Oracle, she said quietly. Tactical analysis. 3 Vex cruisers, each approximately 800 meters in length. Standard, plasma weapons and kinetic shields. Crew complement roughly 200 per ship. They are moving to surround us. Weaknesses? Their shield generators are positioned on the outer hull. Directed energy weapons could overload them with sufficient power. Their weapon systems have a 2-second charging cycle between shots. Riley nodded. 2 seconds was a lifetime in combat when you could think and react in milliseconds. All hands prepare for combat, she announced. This is what we trained for. The Vex ships moved into attack formation. They were confident. 3 ships against 1 was good odds, especially when dealing with an unknown species that probably had inferior technology. Commander Vex, leader of the patrol group, studied the human ship through his tactical display. It was larger than his cruisers but didn't look particularly impressive. Thick armor and lots of weapon ports, but nothing his ships couldn't handle. Target their engines first, he ordered. The Empire will want to study their technology before we destroy them. The first Vex ship fired a stream of superheated plasma. The energy beam lanced across space toward the Defiance's rear section. It never reached its target. Point defense systems along the human ship's hull activated faster than any organic eye could follow. Dozens of small turrets swiveled and fired, streams of coherent light. The plasma beam hit the defensive fire and scattered into harmless radiation. What? Commander Vex stared at his display. How did they? The Defiance's main weapons fired. Twin beams of concentrated energy hit the first Vex cruiser amidships. The alien shields flared bright blue, then overloaded and collapsed. The beams punched through the hull like it was made of paper. Secondary explosions rippled along the ship's length as power systems overloaded. The cruiser broke in half. Both pieces tumbled away, trailing atmosphere and debris. Impossible, Commander Vex whispered. Riley felt Oracle's satisfaction through their neural link. The AI had calculated the exact frequency needed to overload Vex shields. Human technology had advantages the aliens couldn't imagine. 2 targets remaining, Torres reported. They're trying to flank us. Let them come, Riley said. The second Vex ship fired missiles. 12 plasma warheads streaked toward the Defiance at tremendous speed. Any normal ship would have been destroyed. The Defiance wasn't normal. Its point defense grid came alive. Hundreds of small lasers tracked the incoming missiles with perfect precision. Each warhead was intercepted and destroyed before getting within a kilometer of the human ship. The space around the Defiance lit up like a fireworks display. Their defensive systems are incredible, Commander Vex said to his remaining ship. Focus all fire on a single point. We have to overwhelm their... The Defiance rotated and fired its secondary weapons. Kinetic rounds moving at 30% of light speed hit the second cruiser before the alien commander could finish his sentence. The projectiles passed through the ship's shields like they weren't there and punched massive holes in the hull. The cruiser's fusion reactor destabilized. It exploded in a ball of white-hot plasma that briefly outshone the system's star. Commander, Vex was alone now. His remaining ship faced the human vessel in the wreckage of his patrol group. 2 ships destroyed in less than 3 minutes. His hands shook as he reached for the communication controls. This is Commander Vex to all Vex forces, he transmitted. Priority alert. Unknown hostile species has appeared in Sector 7. They possess advanced weapons technology. My patrol group has been destroyed. I am the only... Riley had heard enough. Oracle, jam his communications. Communications jammed, Captain. Now end this. The Defiance's main cannon charged up. Energy readings spiked as the weapon drew power from the ship's fusion reactors. Commander Vex watched his sensors scream warnings about the energy buildup targeting his ship. Please, he transmitted to the human vessel. I surrender. My ship surrenders. Riley's voice came back cold and clear. The Nexari tried to surrender, too. How did that work out for them? The main cannon fired. The energy beam struck the Vex cruiser's bridge and continued through the entire length of the ship. The vessel split apart like a broken toy. Silence returned to the Kepler 442 system. The Defiance floated alone among the debris of 3 Vex warships and the ancient ruins of Nexari civilization. Scan for survivors, Riley ordered. No life signs detected, Torres reported. All Vex vessels have been destroyed. Riley leaned back, in her command chair. Her first combat action against the Vex had lasted exactly 12 minutes. 3 enemy ships eliminated with 0 damage to her own vessel. Oracle, analysis of Vex combat capabilities. Their technology is approximately 50 years behind current human military standards, the AI reported. Their tactics are designed to overwhelm weaker opponents through numbers and fear rather than technological superiority. What about their main fleets? Based on intercepted communications, their heavy warships are larger, but use the same basic technology. Estimated time to develop countermeasures. Minimal. Riley smiled. The Vex Empire had conquered the galaxy by fighting species that hadn't prepared for war. They were bullies who had never faced a real opponent. Set course for the next Vex outpost, she ordered. Send a message to Admiral Beck. Tell him first contact was successful. The enemy is not as strong as they appear. Course plotted, Captain. Engaging hyperspace drive. As the Defiance jumped to its next target, the wreckage of the Vex patrol continued to drift in space. Soon, salvage crews would find the debris and try to understand what had destroyed 3 warships so easily. But by then, Captain Riley and her crew would be long gone, carrying their war deeper into Vex territory. The galaxy's bullies were about to learn what happened when they picked on someone who could fight back. The age of Vex terror was ending. The age of human vengeance had begun. The message reached Earth 3 days after Captain Thorne died. Admiral Beck sat in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. The room was carved from solid rock and filled with screens showing data from across human space. Every wall displayed maps of star systems, ship positions, and resource reports. Play it again, Beck said. The communication officer pressed a button. Captain Thorne's voice filled the room, broken by static but still clear enough to understand. His desperate words about the Vex Empire and their unstoppable advance made everyone listen in silence. That's the 15th message we've received this month, said Colonel Hayes, Beck's second in command. All saying the same thing. The Vex are coming, and no one can stop them. Beck nodded slowly. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 40 years preparing for this day. How long before they reach our border? At their current speed, 6 months, Hayes replied. Maybe less if they don't stop to enslave survivors. Beck stood up and walked to the largest screen. It showed the galaxy with different colors marking different territories. Red zones belonged to the Vex Empire. Blue zones were human space. The red was spreading like spilled blood across the stars. Gentlemen, Beck said, activate Project Titan. A door at the back of the room opened. Dr. Morgan walked in, carrying a metal briefcase that never left her side. She was younger than Beck, with sharp eyes and hands that moved quickly when she talked. Are you sure, Admiral? She asked. Once we reveal Project Titan, there's no going back. The galaxy will know what humanity can do. The galaxy is dying, Beck said. If we wait any longer, there won't be anyone left to save. Dr. Morgan set her briefcase on the table and opened it. Inside were data chips containing humanity's greatest secret. For 70 years, while other species had focused on trade and politics, humans had been building weapons. Show them, Beck ordered. Dr. Morgan activated a holographic projector. The air above the table shimmered and formed the image of a massive starship. It was 2 kilometers long and covered in weapon ports and armor plating. The design looked nothing like the pretty ships other species built for exploration and diplomacy. The UTS Defiance, Dr. Morgan said. Humanity's answer to the Vex Empire. Colonel Hayes whistled softly. I've heard rumors, but seeing it. The ship has been under construction for 15 years, Dr. Morgan continued. hidden in the asteroid belt beyond Mars. We used mining operations as cover while our best engineers worked in secret. She touched in a control, and the hologram zoomed in to show different sections of the ship. Triple-layered armor made from metals we discovered in the outer planets, weapons powered by controlled fusion reactions, and an artificial intelligence system that can process information faster than any organic brain. What about the crew? Beck asked. 500 of our best people, Dr. Morgan said. All volunteers, all enhanced. The room went quiet. Everyone knew about the enhancement program. It was humanity's other secret project. Genetic improvements that made soldiers stronger, faster, and smarter than normal humans. Other species would call it playing God. Humans called it survival. Enhanced how? Hayes asked. Improved reflexes, better hand-eye coordination, increased mental processing speed, Dr. Morgan explained. They can react to threats in milliseconds instead of seconds. They can calculate firing solutions while dodging enemy weapons. They think and move like machines, but they're still human where it counts. Beck walked around the hologram, studying every detail of the ship. What about weapons? Directed energy cannons that can punch through any known armor, Dr. Morgan said. Kinetic missiles that move at 30% of light speed. And something new, quantum torpedoes that phase through normal matter before exploding inside enemy. Ships, combat drones, 200 of them, each one controlled by an enhanced pilot using quantum link technology. The pilot's mind connects directly to the drone's systems. They can control multiple units simultaneously while staying safe inside the ship. Hayes shook his head. It sounds impossible. 20 years ago, faster-than-light travel sounded impossible, Dr. Morgan replied. Humans have always been good at making the impossible work. Beck stopped walking and looked at his officers. Who's commanding this ship? Captain Riley, Doctor. Morgan said. Veteran of the Mars colonial wars, enhanced reflexes and tactical intelligence. She's been training with the Defiance systems for 2 years. I know Riley, Beck said. Good soldier, smart commander. She'll need to be both to make this work. The hologram changed to show the ship's bridge. It looked like the inside of a computer, rather than a normal command center. Screens covered every surface. Control interfaces glowed with blue light. At the center sat a command chair connected to dozens of cables and sensors. The captain links directly to the ship's AI during combat, Dr. Morgan explained. She can see what every sensor sees, control every weapon system, coordinate every drone pilot. The ship becomes an extension of her mind. That sounds dangerous, Hayes said. Everything about this mission is dangerous, Beck replied. But it's our only chance. Dr. Morgan closed the hologram and packed her briefcase. The Defiance finished its final tests yesterday. All systems are operational. The crew is ready for launch. Beck walked to a secure communication terminal in the corner of the room. His hand hovered over the activation key. Once he pressed it, everything would change. Humanity would leave its hiding place and enter the Galactic War. Admiral, Hayes said quietly, are we ready for this? We've spent centuries avoiding contact with alien species. Now we're going to fight their war. It's not their war anymore, Beck said. The Vex won't stop with alien worlds. They'll come for us next. Better to fight them now while we still have allies left in the galaxy. He pressed the activation key. Alarms began sounding throughout the underground base. Red lights flashed as the facility switched to war mode. All across human space, similar alarms were sounding in hidden bases and secret shipyards. Send the activation codes to Captain Riley, Beck ordered. Tell her she has full authority to engage the enemy at her discretion. What about the other species? Hayes asked. Should we warn them that we're coming? Beck smiled for the first time in days. Let it be a surprise. The Vex have been terrorizing the galaxy for 3 centuries. Time for them to learn what terror really means. Far from Earth, in the cold darkness of the asteroid belt, the UTS Defiance began powering up its engines. Captain Riley sat in the command chair as cables connected to her enhanced nervous system. Around her, 500 of humanity's finest. Warriors prepared for a war that would decide the fate of the galaxy. The ship's AI, Oracle, spoke in a voice that sounded almost human. All systems ready, Captain. Course plotted for Vex territory. "Take us out, Oracle," Riley said. "It's time to end this war." The Defiance moved from its hiding place among the asteroids. Its engines glowed like small stars as the massive ship accelerated toward enemy space. Behind it, the lights of Earth grew smaller until they disappeared completely. Humanity was no longer hiding. The real war was about to begin. Admiral Kane stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Devastator, reading reports that made no sense. 3 patrol ships destroyed, no survivors, no distress calls, just wreckage and empty space where his forces used to be. "Show me the debris analysis again," he ordered. His science officer, a pale creature with metal implants covering half his face, activated the holographic display. "The damage patterns are unlike anything in our databases, Admiral. The hull breaches were caused by directed energy weapons of unknown design. The precision is disturbing." Kane studied the floating images of twisted metal and burned circuits. "What species did this?" "They called themselves Terrans, sir. We have no records of this species in our conquered territories." "Then find them," Kane snarled. "Deploy Squadron 7 to investigate. 12 heavy cruisers should be enough to handle whatever destroyed our patrol." "Yes, sir. Squadron 7 is already moving to intercept." Kane turned to look out at the stars. In 300 years of conquest, no single ship had ever defeated multiple Vex vessels. Whatever these Terrans were, they would learn the same lesson as every other species. Resistance was futile. Captain Riley felt the Defiance drop out of hyperspace near the industrial world of Forge Prime. The planet had once belonged to a species called the Builders. Now it was a Vex slave camp, mining rare metals for the Empire's war machine. "Sensor sweep complete," reported Lieutenant Torres. 12 Vex heavy cruisers moving to intercept. They're in tight formation. Riley's enhanced eyes studied the tactical display. The Vex ships were each over a kilometer long, bristling with weapons and thick armor. In a normal battle, any one of them could destroy a dozen smaller vessels. "Oracle, what do you think?" "Analysis indicates the enemy is taking us seriously this time," the AI replied through their neural link. "Larger ships, better coordination, more firepower, they are adapting." "Good. Time to show them why that won't help." Riley activated the ship's intercom. "All drone pilots prepare for launch. This is what we trained for." Deep inside the Defiance, 200 enhanced humans sat in chairs that looked like electronic cocoons. Cables connected their minds directly to combat drones stored in the ship's launch bays. Each pilot could control multiple drones simultaneously, their enhanced reflexes allowing them to fight battles at speeds no normal person could match. "Drone bay doors opening," announced Pilot Marcus, the squadron leader. "All units ready for launch." "Launch when ready," Riley ordered. The Defiance's hull split open in dozens of places. Combat drones poured out like angry wasps from a disturbed nest. Each drone was small and fast, armed with weapons that could destroy ships 10 times their size. Commander Voss, leading Squadron 7, watched the human ship release its drone swarm. "What are those things?" "Unknown combat units," his tactical officer replied. 200 separate contacts, they're moving in perfect coordination." "Fighters," Voss decided. "Target the carrier ship. Once we destroy their base, the fighters will be helpless." He was wrong. The drone swarm split into multiple groups, each moving with impossible precision. They didn't attack like normal fighters, trying to overwhelm enemy defenses through numbers. Instead, they moved like pieces of a single mind, anticipating each other's movements and coordinating attacks with perfect timing. "Incoming missiles from the Vex formation," Torres reported. Riley smiled. "Point defense active. Drone squadron, you are clear to engage." The Vex heavy cruisers fired hundreds of missiles at the human ship. The projectiles streaked through space like falling stars, each one capable of destroying a city. They never reached their target. The drone swarm moved between the missiles and the Defiance. Each small craft fired precisely timed laser bursts, detonating the incoming warheads in cascades of light. The missiles died in beautiful explosions that lit up the darkness. "Impossible," Commander Voss whispered. "How are they coordinating like that?" He got his answer when the drones began their attack run. Each group of drones targeted a different Vex cruiser. They moved in patterns that seemed random, but were actually calculated by Oracle's massive processing power. The AI fed tactical data directly into each pilot's mind, creating a hive mind effect that no Vex computer could match. The first cruiser died in seconds. Drones swarmed around it like hungry sharks, their weapons targeting specific weak points in the ship's armor. They didn't waste shots on heavily defended areas. Instead, they hit weapon batteries, engine pods, and shield generators with surgical precision. The Vex ship's defenses collapsed. Its main reactor went critical. The explosion took out 2 nearby cruisers that were trying to help. 3 ships down, Pilot Marcus reported, his voice excited. Moving to target 4. Commander Voss watched his squadron die around him. His ships were firing everything they had, but the human drones were too fast and too smart. They dodged incoming fire like they could see the future. All ships focus fire on the drones, he ordered. Ignore the carrier. Another mistake. While the Vex concentrated on the drone swarm, the Defiance moved into optimal firing position. Its main weapons charged up, drawing power from the ship's massive fusion reactors. Riley felt Oracle's satisfaction through their neural link. Perfect positioning achieved, Captain. All targets in optimal firing arc. Fire. The Defiance's main batteries spoke with the voice of concentrated starlight. Energy beams lanced out, at light speed hitting 3 Vex cruisers simultaneously. The alien ship's shields overloaded instantly. Their armor turned to plasma. Their hulls split open like ripe fruit. This is impossible, Commander Voss screamed into his communicator. How is one ship destroying my entire squadron? Riley's voice came back calm and cold. You've been fighting frightened civilians for 3 centuries. We're soldiers. The battle continued for another 10 minutes. It wasn't really a battle anymore. It was an execution. The human drones moved through the Vex formation like ghosts, striking wherever the enemy was weakest. The Defiance's main guns fired again and again, each shot claiming another cruiser. The Vex return fire was wild and desperate, hitting nothing but empty space. Commander Voss found himself alone, his flagship surrounded by the wreckage of 11 other ships. His hand shook as he reached for the communication controls. This is Commander Voss to Admiral Kane, he transmitted. Priority emergency, the Terrans. They're not like the other species. They fight like us. But better, much better. Explain yourself. Kane's voice crackled back. They have technology we've never seen. Tactics we can't counter. My entire squadron is gone. 12 heavy cruisers destroyed by a single enemy ship. Silence on the channel. Then Kane's voice, very quiet. 1 ship? Yes, sir. 1 ship and its drone fighters. Admiral, we need to rethink our strategy. These Terrans are... The transmission cut off as the Defiance's main cannon reduced Voss's flagship to glowing debris. Riley leaned back in her command chair, feeling the adrenaline of battle fade from her enhanced system. Around her, the bridge crew was already preparing for the next engagement. Damage report, she ordered. Minor scoring on the outer hull, Torres replied. No significant damage. All systems operating at full capacity. Drone losses? 3 units destroyed, 7 damaged, Pilot Marcus reported. Repairs underway. Riley nodded. 12 Vex heavy cruisers destroyed, and they had lost 3 small drones. The mathematics of this war were very much in humanity's favor. Oracle, scan for Vex communication traffic. Multiple emergency transmissions detected, the AI reported. The enemy appears to be confused. Many ships are requesting new orders. Some are abandoning their patrol routes. Fear, Riley said with satisfaction. They're finally afraid. For 3 centuries, fear had been the Vex Empire's greatest weapon. They conquered through terror, making species surrender rather than face their military might. Now that fear was turning against them. On occupied worlds throughout Vex space, slaves heard whispered stories about a ghost ship that appeared from nowhere and destroyed entire squadrons. Resistance groups began sabotaging Vex installations, inspired by tales of the mysterious Terrans who could actually fight the Empire and win. Set course for the next target, Riley ordered. Send another message to Admiral Beck. Tell him the enemy is beginning to fracture. Fear is spreading through their ranks. Message sent, Captain. Course plotted for the Xerion system. As the Defiance jumped to hyperspace, its crew prepared for the next battle. Each engagement brought them closer to the heart of the Vex Empire, and each victory spread more terror through enemy ranks. The hunters had become the hunted. The galaxy's greatest predators were learning what it felt like to be prey, and Captain Riley was just getting started. Admiral Kane stood in the war room of his flagship, surrounded by holographic displays showing the collapse of his empire. Red zones on the galactic map were turning gray as his forces abandoned their positions. Fear had spread like a virus through the Vex military. How many ships have we lost to this single Terran vessel? He asked. His aide, General Nex, checked his datapad with shaking hands. 47 warships in the past month, sir, including 3 of our best squadron commanders. Kane slammed his fist on the table. One ship? How is one ship destroying my entire fleet? The reports are consistent, Admiral. They fight unlike any species we've encountered. Their technology is superior to ours. Their tactics are perfect. Kane looked at the tactical display showing his home system, Vex Prime. Over 3,000 ships surrounded the planet, the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. Every available warship had been recalled for the final battle. Let them come, Kane said. I don't care how advanced they are. No single ship can face 3,000. He was about to learn how wrong he could be. Captain Riley sat in her command chair as the Defiance dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Vex home system. Through her neural link with Oracle, she could sense the massive enemy fleet waiting for them. Tactical analysis, she said quietly. Oracle's voice whispered in her mind. 3,047 Vex vessels detected. Multiple ship classes from escort frigates to heavy dreadnoughts. They have formed a defensive sphere around their homeworld. Riley smiled. After months of hit-and-run attacks, the Vex had finally gathered their entire fleet in one place. Perfect. Communications. Open a channel to the Vex flagship. Channel. Open, Captain. Riley's voice carried across the void to Admiral Kane's bridge. Admiral Kane of the Vex Empire. I am Captain Riley of the Terran Defense Force. You have one chance to surrender. Kane's reply came back filled with rage. Surrender. You face the might of 3,000 warships. You are outnumbered beyond counting. Numbers don't matter when you're fighting the wrong war, Riley said. You've spent 3 centuries terrorizing civilians. We've spent the same time learning how to kill. Kane cut the transmission and turned to his fleet commanders. All ships, attack formation. Destroy that ship. Show the galaxy that the Vex Empire cannot be defeated. The massive fleet began to move. 3,000 ships advancing like a wall of metal and death. Any normal commander would have retreated. Any sane person would have run. Riley gave the order that ended an empire. Oracle, activate Protocol 7. The Defiance began to change. Sections of the ship's hull split apart like flower petals opening. Hidden bays revealed themselves, each one containing a smaller vessel. The single ship became 10, then 20, then 50 separate craft, each one crewed by enhanced humans and armed with humanity's most advanced weapons. What is this? Kane whispered, watching his tactical display fill with new contacts. Riley's voice came through the communication channel, now speaking from multiple ships simultaneously. You wanted to see our full strength, Admiral. Here it is. The Terran, fleet spread out in perfect formation. Each ship moved with the same precision as the drones, guided by Oracle's tactical intelligence and crewed by humans whose enhanced minds could process information at superhuman speeds. All ships, engage the enemy, Riley commanded. What followed was not a battle. It was a masterpiece of military destruction. The Terran ships moved through the Vex formation like surgeons with scalpels. They didn't waste shots or attack randomly. Every weapon fired at a specific target for a specific purpose. Every maneuver was calculated to maximize damage while minimizing risk. The Vex ships were large and powerful, but they were also slow and predictable. Their commanders had spent centuries fighting frightened civilians who barely fought back. They had no experience with opponents who could think faster, move quicker and coordinate better than any force in the galaxy. The first 100 Vex ships died in the opening minutes. Terran energy weapons punched through their shields like paper. Quantum torpedoes phased through their armor and exploded inside their hulls. Kinetic rounds moving at impossible speeds simply erased entire sections of enemy vessels. Focus fire. On their command ships, Kane ordered desperately, take out their leaders. But there were no weak points in the Terran formation. Every ship was commanded by an enhanced human linked to Oracle's network. If one ship was destroyed, the others immediately compensated. The fleet fought as a single organism with 50 heads. Admiral. Kane watched his carefully planned defense crumble in real time. His ships were dying faster than his computers could count. The space around Vex Prime filled with debris and burning atmosphere from destroyed vessels. Sir, we've lost 800 ships, General Nex reported. The outer defensive line has collapsed. Then fall back to the inner perimeter. Use the planet's defense platforms. The surviving Vex ships retreated toward their homeworld, seeking shelter behind massive orbital weapons platforms. The platforms were each the size of cities, armed with cannons that could destroy moons. Riley watched the enemy withdrawal through Oracle's sensors. Target the defense platforms first. Clear the way to their flagship. The Terran fleet's main guns charged up simultaneously. 50 ships fired as one, their combined energy output rivaling a small star. The orbital platforms didn't just explode, they were vaporized, turned into clouds of superheated gas in milliseconds. Kane's flagship, the Devastator, found itself alone and exposed. Around it, the burning hulks of 3,000 ships drifted in the darkness. The most powerful fleet in galactic history had been destroyed in less than 2 hours. This is impossible, Kane said, his voice barely a whisper. Riley's ship approached the damaged flagship. Her voice came through the communication system one final time. You asked what we are, Admiral. We are what happens when a peaceful species decides to embrace war. We are what you created when you terrorized the galaxy for 3 centuries. Kane looked up at his tactical display, where a single Terran ship was targeting his bridge. Please, my ship surrenders. I surrender. The Corax tried to surrender, Riley said. The Nexari tried to surrender. How did that work out for them? The energy beam that destroyed Kane's flagship could be seen from the surface of Vex Prime. The explosion marked the end of 300 years of galactic terror. Riley stood on the bridge of the Defiance as her fleet regrouped around the conquered world. Below them, Vex Prime burned as liberation forces freed billions of slaves. Across the galaxy, the news was spreading. The Vex Empire was dead. Captain, Lieutenant Torres reported, we're receiving surrender transmissions from Vex forces throughout the galaxy. Most of their remaining ships are abandoning their positions. Let them run, Riley said. The war is over, Oracle's voice whispered in her mind. Congratulations, Captain. Total Vex casualties, 97% of their military forces. Terran casualties, minimal. Riley nodded. The mathematics had been in humanity's favor from the beginning. The Vex had ruled through fear and superior numbers. When they faced an enemy with superior technology and training, their empire collapsed like a house of cards. Send a message to Admiral Beck, she ordered. Tell him the galaxy is free. The Vex Empire is finished. 3 months later, Riley stood in the observation deck of Terra Station, humanity's first embassy to the galactic community. Through the transparent walls, she could see ships from dozens of species arriving for the first Galactic Peace Conference. The freed species wanted to honor humanity as their saviors. They offered trade agreements, technology exchanges, and military alliances. Some even wanted to worship humans as gods of war. Riley had turned down most of the offers. Humanity had revealed its strength to save the galaxy, but they didn't want to rule it. They had learned the lesson of the Vex Empire. Power, without restraint, led to corruption and destruction. Captain, Oracle said through the station's communication system, Admiral Beck is requesting your presence at the peace negotiations. Tell him I'll be there in a moment. Riley looked out at the stars one more time. The galaxy was safe now. But she knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage and there would be new challenges ahead. But for now, for the first time in 3 centuries, the galaxy was at peace. Children on 1,000 worlds could sleep without fear. The age of terror was over, and if anyone else decided to threaten that peace, they would learn the same lesson as the Vex Empire. Humanity was done hiding. They had shown the galaxy what they could do when forced to fight. They hoped they would never have to do it again, but they were ready if they did.